You're listening to the In Search SEO podcast by Rank Ranger.
That's right. You are listening to the In Search SEO podcast, the podcast for painting the town red with exquisite search marketing insights. You are in for a treat today. One of my favorites is here with us. Alli Berry of Motley Fool is back on the show. And this time we're talking syndicated content and SEO with someone, Alli, who knows the dark inner workings of syndication. So we're going to get into, is content syndication right for your site? Is it even worth it? What happens when your syndicate outranks you with your own content? And does Google do a good job handling syndication? And what can you do when it doesn't? But first, holy crap. There is so much to talk about with the official Google invasion of your site with text highlights. We'll get into all of the drama with Google rolling out text to scroll plus highlight, or scroll to text rather, plus highlight from the featured snippet. I am your host, Mordy Oberstein. I am joined by she who is looking for a good man, Sapir Carabello. Hi, Sapir.
Hello, Mordy.
Great.
How are
great.
you?
How's the dating going? Did you find anybody? Did anybody reach out to you to last week's show where we promoted your wonderful attributes and things that you like?
Thank God, no.
What do you mean? We have hundreds of listeners, literally hundreds of listeners. I'm sure somebody out there is a good fit for you. Again, Sapir likes long walks on the beach, margaritas, disco dancing,
Can you
and
stop?
link building.
Oh my God.
Right. You're welcome.
Right. Thank you, Mordy.
How can they find you? Sapir is findable on LinkedIn. So find her on LinkedIn and ask her if she wants to go disco dating
Findable.
and maybe buy some links. Disco dating, disco dancing. Sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate your.
Well, come on, I'm Jewish, right? Come on, you've seen Fiddler on the Roof, Matchmaker, right? We can't help ourselves.
Actually,
You've never seen
it.
that?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, I'm a Jewish as frickin' Tevye,
No.
to quote the Big Lebowski. You never seen that? That's like a classic.
Okay. No.
I hate that movie.
I heard about it.
I hate it. It's the worst. I used to have to watch it with my grandmother. Here, watch this. Eat some kugel. Watch this movie with me. Oh my God,
Okay.
I'd rather have died than have watched that movie for the millionth time, my grandmother. It's torture. Fiddler on the frickin' roof. I kept hoping every time he'd fall off the frickin' roof. Like that, he'd break his neck and be the end of the movie.
Mordy,
The worst movie.
That's so mean.
It is so bad.
Okay.
Gosh,
I'll
my
take
wife
your
likes
word
that
for
movie.
it.
She has no taste in movies. She barely has a taste in men, obviously. Obviously.
Obviously.
Do not forget, we put out a new episode of the In Search SEO podcast each and every Tuesday. You can find the In Search SEO podcast on Stitcher, on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on TuneIn, on Player FM, on wherever great podcasts are found. And of course, you can find it on the Rank Ranger blog, or you can subscribe on iTunes. Also, do not forget, we have the In Search SEO podcast Twitter page where we release exclusive content only found on Twitter. Those include deep thoughts by yours truly and bonus content from our guests. In this case, Alli Berry. Look for some juicy tidbits where I get to ask some personal, risque questions to our guests. That is going to start showing up on Twitter as of this week. We tested that with Simon Cox a couple weeks ago. Going forward, every week you will see a juicy tidbit, 2 juicy tidbits, bonus content from our interviews, risque questions only on Twitter. You can find that on Twitter. Our handle is at InSearch _SEO. Underscore, by the way, in case you don't know, is a dash thing, but it goes down. It's like lower than the dash. _SEO. Yes, for all you people who don't know grammar. Oh, by the way, sign up for our newsletter. Great content, hand-picked articles by yours truly. The top tweets I have seen throughout the week. We share them in a weekly newsletter, and you can see what's going on with the podcast as well. You can find the place to subscribe for the newsletter on the Twitter page. What a perfect world. Also in the blog post for the podcast on the Rank Ranger blog. I think, oh no, wait. One more piece of business. We have to push Rank Ranger, our host company, Rank Ranger. How does it sound? How would a map that shows you your visibility per location sound to you? How about a map that shows you how well each of your business listings are ranking? How does that sound to you? How does a map that shows you which markets for which keywords you are winning a featured snippet for? How does that sound? That sounds awesome, because that is the awesome Geo Insights report only by Rank Ranger. Sign up for our 14-day free trial of Rank Ranger and test out all of our wonderful SEO digital marketing tools at rankranger.com. Thank you.
That was a nice point.
I'm on a roll today.
That was very nice. Yeah.
I'm on it. We got it.
Yeah.
I've been disco dancing. Freaking great show for you today. In case you can't tell, I'm super excited. Alli Berry, who I love, is back on the podcast. By the way, it was a little bit of a crazy interview. We did it in the height of COVID. We were both going crazy, and I was alcoholless. I did not have any, my stock was gone. I needed to replenish. So we're both in a weird place. She's very awesome. By the way, she's part of the whole Carolyn Leiden crew, I like to call it. So shout out to Carolyn Leiden. It's like Nikki Mosier, Alli Berry, Carolyn Leiden. Freaking love them. Follow them all on Twitter. Do that. Okay. So we're going to get really deep into new syndication and how that impacts SEO. There's a whole underbelly that you probably don't know about. I didn't know about it. It's very shady, very sketchy, really interesting stuff. So it's kind of like cool to see what's going on behind the scenes there and what that means for your SEO. But before that, y'all saw what Google did, right? Right, Sapir? You saw it?
Of course we did.
Featured
Morty.
snippet scrolling for everyone, because this is what's hot in SEO.
Red Hots! Get your Red Hots here!
Okay, so where do we stand, Sapir? Maybe catch people up. Where do we stand with this nonsense or greatness, however you want to interpret it?
So, to catch people on what the heck Morty is talking about, for the past year and a half, a mobile featured snippet, when the URL was clicked on, would take you to the exact spot on page where the snippet's content came from. Google also highlights the content on the page used in the snippet in bright yellow. As of June 3rd, Google officially announced that this is now the case for all featured snippets, AMP or not, and even on desktop.
And I'm such an idiot. I am such an idiot, by the way. I'm a total idiot.
Yeah, we already knew that, but what made you realize it now?
So I actually saw this like 3 days before Google announced it. It was like a Sunday. I was playing around, looking at feature snippets. I'm like, hey, it's doing the scroll to text and highlight a yellow thing on desktop, and it's obviously not AMP. I'm going to tweet this. I'm going to break this. I'm going to revel in all the glory. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it later. And I just totally forgot about it.
Oh, no.
every marketing bone in my body
shame.
hurts so bad right now.
Don't worry, I'm sure you're gonna break a new story sooner or later. You always do.
I can't tell if you're mocking me or encouraging me. Both. Okay, I'll take
Both.
it. Okay, so there's a lot to digest here. So let's start with the user. Does this help the user? Does it help the user that when they click on the featured snippet, instead of going to the top of the page, Google automatically whisks them away to the middle of the page, wherever that content came from, wherever the snippet content came from, shows you the content from the featured snippet in yellow right there, right away. Is that good for the user?
I think the answer is kind of obvious. I mean, of course, if they clicked on the featured snippet, it means that they saw the content that they're interested in. And well, if it's highlighted, then all the better. It's gonna save them the time.
Yeah, it could be it does that. Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Like, yeah, it's probably good for the user for the most part. Although, I saw a tweet from Nino Nederman. I'm probably mispronouncing and botching that last time. I apologize. We will link to the Twitter profile, to the tweet, so you can see it there. And he wrote, I felt rather disoriented when the automatic scrolling happened. I am used to starting at the beginning, not the middle. So, yeah, it could be helpful to the user to get right to the point. They get scrolled right there. It's right there in yellow. But I agree, by the way. It does feel a little bit disorienting to like, go, whoa, where am I in this middle of this like massive piece of content?
I guess I see your point, but maybe it just takes like a little bit of time to get used to it. Like how you eventually got
Hated
used
that.
to the new Twitter update.
Hated that Twitter
you know
update.
What I mean?
By the yeah.
But now you're used to it. Like I don't even
That's
remember
true. By the way, I am
Twitter.
stuck in a horrible Facebook
Right.
test. I'm like a beta user for Facebook, which I hate Facebook. It's the worst. It's like imagine Twitter when they did their update that sucked, and then you made it like suck a million times more. That's what Facebook is doing right now to me. But yeah, okay,
Right, but just like you just need to get used to it.
I don't like
That's
getting
what,
used.
you know,
I'd rather
people
be
hate
annoyed about it.
changes, But eventually,
I don't want to get used to it. I want to complain.
Okay, do your
What
thing.
good is there getting used to? Like, it's ridiculous. You mean you want to be a mature adult person and just like roll with the punches? That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Sheesh.
Okay.
No, but I tend to agree with
To
you.
each their own.
Okay, I tend to agree with you. At the same time, though,
Okay.
the average person doesn't understand. Like we always as SEOs take some like a very unique perspective because we understand what's happening. But take Grandma, okay? Grandma Beth, who my grandmother's name is not Beth. My grandmother's name was Lucifer.
Oh my God.
Grandma Beth clicks on a featured snippet. She doesn't know what she's clicking on. It's like, why all of a sudden is there yellow here? And when they click somewhere else, why is there no yellow here? Sonny? That's my old person impression. Okay. They don't understand what's happening. So that could be just sort of like, why do I get this scroll with the yellow thing going on one point and not at other times? We get it. Oh, that's a featured snippet. You just clicked on site links. But Grandma doesn't understand that.
Right. Right, but I don't know. Like, it's been happening for a while now. Like, Google already implemented this change.
That's a good question.
A while ago, right? Like, Danny Sullivan said that they've done it regularly with AMP pages since December 2018,
why now?
right? And don't forget, we also had. Do you remember we had that video carousel update a while back? That if you click on the video, it
timestamp
skips
thing.
to the minute.
Yeah.
Where it mentions, right? It mentioned the content when that you were
agree.
looking for. So
I
it's
agree.
been going on for a
People will
while.
get used to it. People will figure it out. People, maybe they've seen it on mobile. You're right. Maybe they've seen it on mobile. Maybe they haven't seen it. Grandma has not seen it on mobile. Grandma's still using a rotary phone. You don't even know what a rotary phone is up here. I get it. That's where you turn it with your finger.
Right, she's using the internet on
Right.
desktop and not mobile, right?
Okay,
That
so
makes
she doesn't know, but I
perfect
get.
sense.
You're probably right.
Right.
Most people will get with the program. Fine. All right. At the
Right.
same time, by the way, I think that, okay, you have to realize that the fact that the user clicked on the feature snippet URL means what? Cricket. It means they were not satisfied with the content, right? They weren't satisfied with the snippet itself. They wanted more, so they clicked the URL, which means you're taking them to the precise moment in content time that they already saw, and they already don't need this. To sort of play devil's advocate.
Yeah, but the related content is probably right next to it.
That's true. Okay, that is interesting. So I'm playing a little bit devil's advocate here, right? So yeah, you're gonna roll to the page, and you're gonna see the same content you already saw in the snippet. You don't need that. That's why you clicked. You're probably right. It's probably near there, but maybe not. It might not be. If it's a long piece of content and it's a complicated answer, it might be like way above it. You might not know where the heck it is. That's probably, this is a side point. Like, this is probably not like the real reason why it's not good for users. It probably is good for users. I will admit to it. Okay. At the same time, however, you need to realize there are a ton of feature snippets that this is not applied to, like a list feature snippet, right? Because Google pulls a lot of these lists from the headers on the page. So what's Google going to do? Highlight the whole freaking page? Doesn't make any sense.
Are we making a big deal out of nothing?
Why? Because
here?
I'm upset? I'm always upset. It's not,
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a total game changer. Look,
Oh.
you're going right to
Why?
that chunk of content, which means do not pass go, do not collect $200. Prior to this, okay, think about this for a second. The user clicks on the feature snippet, they go to the top of the page, and they have to skim through your content. Like, wow, this person wrote awesome content. They are so awesome. They are so good. Look at the great content that these people put out. They're freaking awesome. Now they don't see that. They just go right to the little snippet and maybe read a line afterwards, a line before, and they're done. They don't see all of that. So they lose how authoritative and awesome you are. Right? Also, before them, I get distracted. Like, I'm looking for the answer, but it's not real. This is really interesting. Let me click on another article. And that's not happening either anymore. Or, right, there's an ad. You're running AdSense on your page. People are advertising. at the top of that page there. Not seeing that anymore. Not seeing the CTA you put there for yourself. They're not even seeing the logo, and this is probably the biggest thing, at the top of your page. Check that.
Oh,
Check
you're
that out.
right.
That's a big problem.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, marketers will have to think like how it also influences brand awareness and stuff.
Yeah. It's like it's like the way we interpret feature snippet wins needs to be more nuanced, and we need to be more careful about it and look at how it's affecting conversions. And then before we thought, okay, feature snippet's great for brand awareness, brand identity, not the same way as before, in my opinion. By the way, Rich Tatum, friend of the podcast, friend of humanity, he said it's time for sticky headers on the top of your page with your logo. That's why when they get to that part of the page from the feature snippet, your header with your logo still shows up. Intriguing idea, right? Very, very intriguing.
Yeah, interesting.
But that's what I mean. Like, you really have to start qualifying feature snippet traffic in new ways, which even that visibility and return for your brand awareness, not the same as it was before. I don't think people will convert in the same way. So I think as much as I'm being, my typical annoying self, this is actually big.
Yeah.
Like they're
Right.
It's a big move because Google's not just altering the SERP here. They're like messing around with their website. I'm like, come on, is that okay? By the way, I was thinking when I ran this, when I was outlining this episode, should I do a pet peeve? Like, should I run this as a pet peeve, or should I run this like, hey, this is a hot topic in SEO. What segment should I do here? No one actually cares about what I'm talking about right now, except for me. Right. But I was thinking, okay, we should do a pet peeve because this is really annoying. Like, Google's doing some, like, this is a little bit shady in a kind of, sort of way. But I didn't. But you know what? I didn't run the pet peeve. But screw it, we're doing it live. Do it. This is another one of Morty's pet peeves. Roll the calming music before the storm. Here we go. So I don't get it. Let's say some very inventive tech engineer made all of your site's pages show all of the content, no matter what, no matter the font size, no matter the header, was it body text, nothing. All the text in your page, they screwed around with it without your permission and changed it from black to red. What would you call me, Sapir? What would I be? If I would I'd be Google. I would literally be Google.
What? What are you talking about?
You're taking away my anger with your mocking this. In this scroll to text highlight thing, Google is taking pages that do not belong to them and adding a highlight that you might not want users to see. I've thought of the most absurd example of this, like how this can actually change your website's business around. And so it's a little bit absurd, but follow me here for a second, okay? Maybe you're selling to colorblind people.
Okay.
Okay? No, for real. Maybe you are. I don't know. Like, maybe you're colorblindpeople.com. And having the highlight there is hard for people to see, who have colorblind to see. I don't know. I know there's like all different types of colorblindness and all different shades of colors people can or cannot see. So I have no idea if yellow was one of them or not. But in theory, right? So someone who's colorblind sees the feature snippet, goes to your website, sees the yellow, and they think you are a jackass. I can't see this highlight. It's screwing with me. Why are you screwing with me? You're trying to sell to me. Now, I understand. That's an absurd case. But you could probably think of other cases where Google messing around with the formatting of your page changes things around for you that you might not want to be changed around. It's like Google crossed a line here, and it's not a good thing. By the way, I don't think Google crossed this line on purpose. They are not evil. They are not webmongers. They are not whatever other horrible thing you want to call them. I don't think they thought this through. They thought, hey, like Google sometimes, I think we give them too much credit for being too smart. I think they thought, hey, great for the user, and done. I don't think they thought of like, hey, you know what? We're messing around with people's websites, and do we have permission to actually do this or not? But you don't, and I don't think it's okay. I think that's a problem, and I think it's going to be hard to walk that back, slippery slope kind of thing, and that's my pet peeve, and I'm still angry about it.
Wow.
It's not kosher.
Yeah, you sound pretty angry.
But I sound angry all the time. That's my thing.
Okay.
I'm angry New Yorker. Right. All right. So with that piece of news that I'm always angry, let's get to some real news. Not the news with Sapir, but new syndication, content syndication, the dark underbelly of content syndication. Because here's another interview coming at you.
Here comes another search marketing expert. It's time for an in-search interview.
Welcome to another In Search SEO podcast interview session. Today we have our second timer. She's an author, hiker, and all-around adventurer. She even bakes banana bread in a freaking crock pot. She is the SEO director of the Motley Fool. She is the one, the only, Alli Berry. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
It's awesome. I love having you again.
Yeah.
I told you last time, come on again. Here we are. Now we're in the middle of the whole COVID-19 thing. So what's really pertinent to me is how the hell did you bake a banana bread in a crock pot?
Well, it's the same ingredients as if you were going to bake it in an oven. So I actually did one loaf in the oven and one in the crock pot, and then taste tested them.
Right, I saw that. Was it the same?
That's
Better?
where we are.
That's where we are.
It's true, right? Like, we have lots of time suddenly. I don't know if I would say it's better. You can get bread to be a little bit more moist if you do the crock pot, whereas like if you leave something in the oven a little bit too long, it's gonna be a lot crispier around the edges and stuff. So like, I don't know. I think that the crock pot cooks it a little bit more evenly, and it's just cool to be able to do that. So there's really not a whole lot to it, other than like you put it in the bread pan, you make it the same way, put a paper towel over it, and then cook it on high for like I think 3 or 4 hours.
I just never seen anything not liquidy in a crock pot before.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. By the way, it's bedtime here, so if you hear like kids going crazy or bananas, no pun intended, that's the reality of COVID-19 and being quarantined at home and doing this at home at bedtime. So it's gonna be nuts. Yeah, and I'm gonna lose my shit at a certain point.
Perfect.
Yes. Where the hell were we? Oh yeah, we're doing a podcast. We're talking about syndication, and there's a whole. Okay, I actually wrote this down because I was going to forget. Let's talk about syndication, how it works. Maybe let's explain it, like the heck syndication is, how it works, and what the implications are for SEO. Just sort of get everybody on the same page. I have those all written down in case you forget the order. It's what is content syndication, how does it work, and how does it do with SEO?
Sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, before I started working on the Motley Fool, content syndication was a mystery to me too. It's a distribution strategy essentially. And it really only works if you are a website publisher. Like if you're producing enough content each day that would get another publisher interested in you. So what you're essentially doing is you're borrowing another publisher's traffic, and you are sending them content that they are then putting up on their site. But it's different than guest posting, because with guest posting, only one of those sites would host the content. With syndication, you are the original hoster of said content, and they are essentially posting a duplicate version on their site. So it's a little bit more complicated from the SEO perspective. And, when you hear about it at first, you're like, oh God, no, don't do that. But there's pros, there's cons, and there's neutrals to it. Basically, like, in order to do syndication, you need to have a partnership with another publisher. So it's not something that, like, if you started a site yesterday, you could just do. You need to have a very established website yourself. It needs to be authoritative. You need to have enough of an audience that, like, another publisher would be interested in working with you. And ideally, you and that publisher should have enough overlap in your audience that your content's going to resonate with theirs. Otherwise, why on earth would they want to publish your content if it doesn't do anything for them? So it's interesting because the syndication partner is also interested in growing their site and growing traffic and conversion as well. So you both are kind of trying to accomplish the same thing with your content. And so that's how it gets a little complicated sometimes. And you're always going to do this and go into it with a contract. And you need to establish like parameters that you're both comfortable with. So things like a canonical tag seems like a no-brainer, right. But sometimes that might come up in a negotiation, or, maybe you're only going to syndicate the beginning of an article or something, or maybe it would be amazing if you could find a partner out there who is like, yeah, we'll give you a meta no index tag. That's great. But that would be the ideal scenario for you, because obviously then yours is the only one that's going to index. So you're still getting traffic from that site, but you're not necessarily you're not going to have any competition with them over rank. So there's a lot of different
right, because you're competing. It's your content and it's their content. It's the same content, and you're sort of competing with each other, even though you're not, which is kind of weird.
It's super weird. Yeah, it's very complicated, and so it's interesting because we can get into this in a little bit, but Google has come out, Danny Sullivan, with recommendations for publishers of if you're going to syndicate, you should request this, this, and this, and it's yeah, you should, but from the syndication partner standpoint, why on earth would they do that?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So it's just it's finding that middle ground where everyone is okay, and then if you don't think the partnership is okay, and it's it's actually hindering you, then you need to walk away from it.
Are there there are definitely a lot of technical SEO problems that come up, right? There's the whole duplication of content. There's the canonicalization. Just what are some of the major things that you've run into over time with this?
Yeah. So
just
how
a few.
much time do we have?
Just a few. Just a few.
No, I know. So I mean, the biggest one for us has been the canonical tag, and there was an article published in September 2018 that Yahoo Finance was stealing a lot of people's traffic
I saw that.
From syndication. And it's actually, I'm really glad that got published, because we were experiencing the same thing at the same time and wondering if we were alone. And it is one of those things where, as a company, we're not super vocal in the SEO community at it's tough because you don't want to share too much with competitors, but at the same time, we're all having the same problems. And so it was helpful to have a conversation with a couple other finance people and be oh, we're all in this together. But so Yahoo Finance still won't give a canonical tag. And so it became a thing of, we were seeing consistently that they were outranking us. It was about, I have the numbers. I think it was around 60 to 65% of the time they would rank either above us or in place of us.
With your content.
With our content.
Right.
And it was in top stories, but it was also in regular results as well after that period of top stories kind of had passed.
Yeah.
So then that's a huge issue because obviously they're taking our traffic. It still could come back to our site. There's links in the articles that come back to us. But what's been interesting about that is, we have a message at the end of all of our articles that's we are the original source of this article, and a link back to it. That wasn't effective enough.
Right.
So, we for a time have not been syndicating to Yahoo Finance until we can get a contract together that we're all more comfortable with.
Wow, that's serious. That's for
real.
It's
a big deal. And it is. And SEO is one piece of the pie, but we're a publisher, right? We have a ton of people on our staff. We have somebody who is doing all of the partnership relationship stuff. It's more of a business development type role.
I mean, that's money lost.
It's money lost. They're an audience that's valuable to us. So yeah, it's money lost. It's conversions potentially lost because you have to kind of look at it from, is this more valuable organically or here? And so, yeah, those are tough decisions, and it always sounds super simple when people are publishing about this kind of stuff. And it's everyone gives the SEO perspective, but the reality is there's a ton of people involved in this process, and developers and feeds and all of it, that it's not as simple as just making the right SEO decision. It's what is the right business decision here?
Have you sat in on those meetings where they decided, okay, we're going to either syndicate to Yahoo or we're going to stop?
I haven't.
I'm curious, what goes into
I'm
that?
not sure it was so much a meeting as it was hey, FYI, escalating. Here are the numbers in terms of how often we're getting outranked, and are we okay with this? And then the president of our company decided no, he was not okay with it, and has an SEO background himself too.
That's cool.
So has that lean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm not sure it was necessarily a meeting at all, but if it was, I was not there.
No, but it's fascinating to me, this whole underbelly, the whole underbelly in general of the news publishing world that you don't really see. There's so much depth there and so much going on there. It's really interesting to sort of unearth it. What goes into that decision? How do you weigh that? Because you might have your immediate loss of finances from coming in from, say, the syndicate, in this case Yahoo, but you have a long-term thing wow, we get so much visibility, we get so much notoriety, we get so much whatever because we're on frickin' Yahoo.
Yeah, totally. I mean, God, it's so complicated because it's not even just the conversion so much as it's we also get links from this.
Right.
So even if the syndication partner themselves don't link to, or they no follow links is the more common practice there. Because the content gets out to so many people, you'll see like journalists will pick up something and link back to the original source, and they totally got to it because we had so much reach with the story, that you do, like, we have a domain authority of 91, and like very
awesome.
little effort went into that over 15 years.
How did you get that Google metric of domain authority to be so high? I'm joking.
Oh, I know, right?
Right.
And we can talk about whether or
Let's
not
not go
all
down
of this
that
gets
rabbit hole.
counted.
Let's
But
not go down that rabbit hole.
the reality is, we have a very natural link profile, and it's because...
Yeah, we do the same thing. We're in the same boat.
Yeah.
We both spilled our beans now.
Mm-hmm. One other thing to say about the Yahoo thing is that we did a lot of experiments before we pulled the plug on them that I forgot about.
Oh, cool. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I feel like this is like sort of like when this became into focus, at least for me, when syndication came into focus, was Google's original reporting algorithm preference, whatever you want to call it. Original reporting preference, we'll call it. And it almost felt like there was a glimmer of hope for you in that. That you're going to get the original reporting, you're going to be ranked number one because you're the original syndicate. Original content creator. Yes. Yeah. But what happened?
What happened? So something that's interesting about, I'm all for the original reporting update. I have not seen it work, but in theory, it's good. What's interesting is that when this whole like syndication kind of thing came up in terms of like, hey, why is Yahoo Finance outranking all of the original content if you did this update a month ago? And Danny Sullivan did make a statement, and I wrote this down because it's pertinent to what we're talking about here. Google search liaison Danny Sullivan responded on Twitter, if people deliberately choose to syndicate their content, it makes it difficult to identify the originating source. That's why we recommend the use of canonical or blocking. The publisher syndicating can require this. So it also says, this affects both news and web results, Sullivan said. In fact, the original reporting algorithm update has not yet rolled out to Google News. It's just for web search currently.
That's kind of like, almost like silly. Like the whole point would be for news content. We benefited sometimes, so that was great for one of our 2 blog posts. Yeah,
exactly. The point reporting,
right,
the word, indicates news. So if it hasn't rolled out to news, then it's no good. And
I feel like
honestly,
you're splitting hairs there. Reporting
you're
news.
You're totally split. Right. You're splitting hairs entirely. And so the top stories, carousel is basically, it's coming from like, it's the Google News algorithm. It's not the regular web algorithm. And so, and everything we were seeing, like Google really struggles with the recency stuff and getting the original stuff to show up. And I think what might be happening is because the syndication partner publishes second, their stuff is more recent. And if recency is the biggest piece of the algorithm for Google News, that might be part of it.
But
that's a theory.
That's mind-numbing. I remember when this came out, I asked you, because I knew nothing about syndication. And I asked you, how long does it take to go from you produce the content to a partner picks it up? Mm-hmm. And it's not immediate, right?
It's not. It can be. So what happens is we publish and it goes into a feed. And actually, one thing we did experiment with for a time was, should we be delaying our feeds? And so we did experiment with delaying our feeds 30 minutes. So we'd publish and then it wouldn't go to the partner until 30 minutes later, or 2 hours. I think we went as far as 4 hours. We can't control when the partner picks it up from there. Most of them are pretty quick. So know that, like, if we were actively delaying it, we were at least saying there is at least, 2 hours between when we publish and when they publish. We thought that would be enough time. Almost all of our partners give us a canonical tag. Yahoo is one of the few exceptions. Mm-hmm. But we had one partner for a while who gave us a canonical and did all of the SEO things and would still occasionally outrank us. So, like, it's not perfect, especially when it comes to, like, the Google News algorithm. I think the web algorithm is a lot better.
Yeah, the news algorithm kind of sucks. It still sucks.
Yeah.
Now, you can type in, like, important news, and you get all these results back that I've been bitching about this for years already. In the title, like, it has to say important news, and then it'll rank. So it could be from, like, KT231 in Kansas, and not the Motley Fool, because they wrote important news in the title.
Yep.
That's terrible.
Yeah. It's interesting. And some partners do change up headlines. So, we'll send them all of the content in the format that they wanted and all of that. But we have seen, especially with Yahoo, we were studying pretty closely, like, how do you even monitor when people are outranking you? Because it's not as simple as you'd think to be able to track that. So we were like searching for our exact match headlines and finding that sometimes they're changing our headlines. So then we started searching for our disclaimer at the bottom, and that was a much more effective way to find everything. And so, like, even being able, so if a partner is changing a headline too, which it's in their right to do, they can do whatever they want.
But doesn't Google know this?
You would think so.
You would think, right?
They should.
They know.
They should.
The article written by, it doesn't say it's written by, so-and-so. It's written by whoever wrote it originally. And it's usually, when you read something from the AP and ABC News picks it up, it'll say written by, Amy Cohen at AP News. So just look at the author.
I know.
That's what I don't get. Like, why are you focused so much on the canonicalization when there's so many other ways you can pull this out? The time it was released, the author, all this stuff. I don't get it.
Yeah. I would love to understand it too. It would be nice if we had a liaison who specialized in news from Google. That would be very helpful.
That would be nice.
Somebody wanted to.
Maybe you can get someone else from search engine land to quit search engine land and then go to Google and do that. Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk to Barry Schwartz about it.
It is a bit of a mystery, honestly, like the whole Google News side of things. If there are a lot of experts out there, they're pretty quiet. And even just things like there were two different publisher centers, and like, how do you even get into that whole game? Like, it is complicated. And I feel like it's a piece of SEO that just doesn't get talked about as much.
So I was going to ask you, like, are you having any issues being outranked for your own content? But clearly, yes. Clearly, there are plenty of issues.
Yeah, and so everything that I am talking about is from somewhere between July and like September. But Yahoo Finance was our biggest problem, and we have stopped syndicating for a time and are still figuring out when we're going to go back with them. So I don't have great data to say yes, like, it's still happening, because we kind of took care of. No,
I mean, you can do a simple search and see if it's still happening. Go to over AP, pull a title, search for it, and see where they rank. Although they don't use Reuters, because they don't ask for the canonical back, which is interesting in its own right. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me. Thank you. Matter of fact, I
can edit it out.
I wanted to ask you, like, so we're talking about Yahoo, you're talking about the contracts, and I'm sure there's a ton of legalese that neither of us understands. But I'm just curious, like, can't you do some legal kung fu that would get Yahoo to say you have to canonicalize and point it back to us?
No.
Isn't that like, that's not a norm? They don't have to.
They don't have to do anything. I mean, in the end of the day, they don't have to take syndicated content. It's on them to figure out, like, what is the right strategy for Yahoo? How much content do you need? Can you find publishers who are willing to, go with your terms? Honestly, if you don't have somebody who's advocating for the SEO side, it's pretty easy to just go ahead with whatever the partner wants and do it. And you might not even notice that anything's happening. So, and honestly, I think I would imagine that a lot of syndication partnerships and stuff are handled by business development teams more than anything else. So no, they don't have to do anything. And like, we don't have to do anything. And I think that's what's interesting, is like Danny Sullivan saying, you should require your partners to block or canonicalize. And it's like, okay, we could take that hard stance. We probably should. But then it's like, what are we losing? And it's, pieces beyond, it's the brand awareness piece, it's the audience building piece, it's all of that. And so I think it just comes back to like your content strategy and what makes sense for you.
Doesn't Google doing this sort of put smaller publishers, let's say you have gargantuans like Yahoo, whatever, at a disadvantage? Because Yahoo can say, yeah, well, we're doing whatever we want because we're Yahoo. So screw you.
So who's at a disadvantage?
The smaller publishers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the flip side is, it would be an interesting content strategy if you were only partnering up with very, very relevant sites to you that are smaller, you'd probably have more leverage to get them to do what you want,
Right.
because your brand is helping them grow. So it could. I guess it depends on, from the people who are publishing the content to be syndicated, what our strategies are and what we want.
So I'm curious, what have you tried to do to fix all of this? Has anything worked? Is there anything to do, or are you just sort of like, well, screw it?
Well, I talked about delaying feeds. So that was one thing we did try to see, like, I mean, and it was an interesting experiment, right? How valuable is a canonical tag in reality? Can we get this to fix without it? Because if we can, that kind of proves that the canonical tag is not as valuable as Google makes it sound. By delaying, let's see, with a 2-hour delay, we ended up outranking Yahoo for our own stuff like 45% of the time, which is better than,
Does that last? Did
yeah,
that last? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were mainly just monitoring from the top stories perspective, but it only gets better with time because the canonical tag will start to actually work. I suspect that maybe it's just not getting picked up fast enough or something. I don't know.
That's what
Nobody's
sucks about it. No,
me.
right. No one knows anything. It's amazing.
Exactly.
What
so
would Google lose by telling you guys, by the way?
I don't know. It would be very helpful just to understand that.
You're not like some kind of like spammy casino site.
No.
We're talking about news publishers.
I don't know.
Maybe I have too much faith in news publishers.
I think we might. I mean, yeah. And we could talk about how do you define a news publisher another time.
That's a good point.
Because, I mean, it is kind of broad, and we're more of a news analysis publisher.
Right.
But that's a story for another.
Okay, so I didn't even interrupt your fixes.
But, yeah, so delaying feeds, it was a little bit effective. It wasn't effective enough for us, what we wanted. We added language to the bottom of all of our content, citing us as the original source, like making that an explicit call out. I would say that was not really effective. But it was a really effective. It was an effective way for us to track, like to find all of our content.
That's cool. That's cool.
So search for that exact phrase.
Good for brand building. I wonder if that's good.
Great.
This whole thing, by the way, makes you wonder if, like, even if just a Yahoo is not, pointing back to you and they're outranking you, but does Google still pick you up from an entity perspective? Like, okay, so the Motley Fool is one of these feeder entities who's super authoritative and super awesome because they're feeding Yahoo News.
I would assume so. I don't know how you could possibly argue something different. There's the brand building perspective, and then there's also just the amount of links that you can acquire naturally by just having your stuff everywhere, and then other people picking it up and other people picking it up, and like, I mean, that seems to work well. Say so. Yeah, I would say that from that perspective, it's absolutely helpful. It's complicated.
It's very complicated. Any other fixes, or did I interrupt you at the end?
No, other than trying to go back to the partner and renegotiating terms.
Right.
That's really all.
The legal kung fu.
Legal kung fu.
Legal
yeah.
kung fu.
Or just cut the feed or whatever.
Right. like a bad child, just cut them off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and partners can do it to you too. Like, it has may or may not happen recently. Like, if you send enough content with like errors or something's breaking on the partner side, they might just stop you for a little bit.
That's a good point. Word to anybody out there not checking your grammar.
Not even grammar, but just like, hey, there's like a broken link in here or something, whatever. If we're giving them things that are going to make their site worse.
See, I never thought that makes a ton of sense. I never even thought about it. I am not a syndication person. I wish I were. I wish people were syndicating my stuff, but they're not.
Not yet.
Not yet. I will get there one day. No, but it's a good point. I totally never even thought of that. Wow, look at that. So, let me ask you this then. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to syndicate their content? Being that I am not the person to do this, because I don't even know that you should check your links, because you've broken links means broken link on their page too. Yeah.
I honestly think that you need a really good strategy before you set out on this path. I would not say that this is a super easy path to start. Forging relationships with partners is extremely time consuming, and you're going to get a lot of no for a while. They want to work with brands they already know and trust, and so I mean, depending on who you're going with. I will say that there does seem to be potential for websites that are closely aligned with yours, and it doesn't have to be syndication. It could also just be the the old guest post, type thing, like a guest column, something like finding ways to partner with sites that really truly do make sense for your brand, I think can go a long way. Whereas like, unless you're really doing the news or something that's very broadly focused, like finance is something that touches everybody, it's probably not going to make sense to try to go to the big Yahoos and MSNs and AOLs of the world, which do exist, believe it or not, still, and there are lots of people who read them.
Really?
And they tend to skew, as you would imagine, older. And if that's the audience you are trying to reach, then like it's a good tactic.
Hey, if you're the AARP.
Exactly. And like there are plenty of sites out there that would be a really great partnership.
I totally didn't know AOL was like still existed at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad.
Well, and when you like look at a homepage of like a Yahoo or an MSN or an AOL or whatever, like the majority of it is content that's been syndicated.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of content, if you go to like, click on World News on, CBS News, it's all coming from Reuters and the AP.
Yep, absolutely.
It almost seems like syndication is like a formalized version of like a link building campaign.
It kind of is, except that you're going to get a lot of no follows in the process and stuff, which, and even how that is looked at by Google has changed recently. And so, they could decide that they're going to weigh that as a followed link.
Right.
I don't know.
There you go.
I can say that even if it doesn't look like it's helping, just the amplification effect absolutely is helping.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Since I have you here, since you're an SEO news person, I think it's so rare and so cool. Then you're like, it's so cool. It's not so cool. It's cool.
I don't even know if I'm a news person, but yes, we publish at a higher cadence. Sure.
You're talking like with Yahoo Finance, like you guys are.
I'm not.
Oh.
We are, yeah, as an organization.
You
sure,
as the larger organization, the they. I'm wondering if there's a whole recent relative to the time we're recording this, of Google saying that, we're still going to show paywall content within the news results within the top stories carousel. And I know there's pushback to like, why should Google do that if you can't actually access the news? Why should it rank? Just kind of curious what you think about that.
I think it's complicated.
It depends. Good answer.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say it depends. You did.
Sorry.
I said it's complicated.
Okay.
Because it is.
Okay. Sorry. No.
The reality of news today and journalism today is that they are drowning and they need help and they need people to pay for their content to stay afloat. And I understand that and empathize with that. And there have been times recently where I have landed on a news article and wanted to read it bad enough to pay for the source. And
right.
I feel happy to do that in this weird time that we live in, especially. So I think if you take away all of the content behind a paywall, you're not going to have much left. And so I think this is kind of the reality that we are in today, and that we should all be paying for the news.
That's an interesting thought. I mean,
how's that?
I don't know. Because but that sounds like someone who works for SEO for a news website would say. But I hear that.
No, but I mean, it's absolutely true. Journalists are getting cut everywhere.
No, it's a mess. It's a total mess. I agree. It's a total mess.
Yeah, and I think the answer is that we pay for it,
right?
Because we don't want it to be in the United States. We do not want it to be government run.
Right.
I think
that's a whole problem now in France. Right?
Yeah.
That's like, that's interesting to me because I might sort of bring that in. So France or the EU ruled that in France, maybe I have that backwards, that Google's going to have to pay for any news content that it shows on the server within Google News. But what I find interesting is that if you're not paywalling the content, so you're making it public for everybody but Google, and that's sort of a contradiction. And on the other side, if you are paywalling it, so then Google is bringing you potential users who will pay for your content. So what are you upset about? Like, I don't understand it.
I can't understand why you'd be mad at Google giving you traffic.
Yes,
from
I don't understand.
Yeah. Like, that's
You're not paywalling it, so what
scenario.
are you, like, that's your fault for not paywalling it. So what are you upset about? And if you're paywalling it, then
Right.
what are you upset about? Like, either way, I don't get what everybody's
Right.
upset about.
Well, and if you're not paywalling it, like, what a great lead gen opportunity, right? So,
Yeah.
like, you have your free content, you have a great call to action that gets people into your funnel. Like, that's the dream, man.
Yeah, I understand. I don't, I'm like scratching my head about this. I just don't
I don't know.
understand. That's what I mean. Like, there's so much going on here. Like, what the hell's going on? It's all a
I don't
mess.
know. I think people are just angry.
And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. And that's behind everything. People are just angry.
People are just angry.
And
There's a lot to be
do something to satisfy
frustrated
that
with
anger
right now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, here's something tangible I can throw some anger at today.
Why don't you just drink your anger away? Which would be the better idea. Less harmful. The only one you're hurting is yourself and your liver.
I mean,
Seems more sensible to me.
that's what you and I are doing.
Right. No, I'm not, because my order of whiskey didn't arrive yet. I'm dying.
This is why you need to live in America, man.
Right.
Although I can't say it's much better here. I had my liquor order canceled too.
Well, we have toilet paper, so.
What's
up?
That's it.
We have no eggs. I don't know why that is. I don't know why you have toilet paper and we have no eggs, but hey. I guess you care more about dealing it on the way out, and we're more concerned about what's going in. That's all I can figure. That's an image. Okay.
This is international relations at its finest.
Right. This is what happens when you're locked away for, I don't know how many weeks it is. Too many. So, It's time for that part of the show where we give you a fun little question. It's called Optimize It or Disavow It. It's where I give you two. You've already done this, but in case you're a first-time listener, I'm going to give you two options, or either two crappy options, and you're stuck, two crappy options. No one wants to choose one crappy option over another, or two really good options, and you're stuck choosing one good option over another good option. So this is the Alli Berry version of Optimize It or Disavow It. So since we're talking about syndicated content, I have a conundrum for you. What would you rather? Of course, it's a conundrum for me, but for you, it's probably really easy. You have your content, it gets syndicated on a really, really awesome website, like CBS News or Yahoo, whatever is syndicating you, but you're not getting the rankings that you want. Or you have some crappy partner, Bumblebee, wherever, who's syndicating your content, and they're nobody from nowhere, but they're syndicating you and you're ranking well for the queries that relate to that article. Which would you rather? You're looking at me like I'm nuts.
I don't really like either scenario. Can I disavow both?
Sure. It's a free country, free world, sometimes.
Kind of free, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
You can,
Let's unpack this.
Explain why you buy both. They're not good.
Having my content syndicated on a crap website, you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes,
right.
Where my site ranks, like, well, then why wouldn't I just kill that feed? Because why do I want to syndicate somewhere crappy? I do fine on my own, thank you. And then, I mean, syndicating to the elite of the elite is fine as long as it converts well, and, whatever. But otherwise, I would just assume not. I would like to rank our own site. So,
okay.
I think it depends.
It depends. Thank you.
I don't know if it depends at all. I think I'd probably take the elite of the elite if I had to choose.
Okay, so
I don't.
No one likes crap.
Value.
Yeah. No, maybe maybe it's like a stepping stone. The Bumblebee, Kansas. I always pick on Kansas. I don't know why. Kansas is probably. I've never been there.
You've never been to Kansas?
No, I mean I'm from New York. I've been to New Jersey, Connecticut, New
Such
England.
a New Yorker thing to say.
It's such a new. I know. My wife makes fun of me all the time. She's from Maryland. She's like, "Why? New York's not the center of the world." I'm like, "Hell yeah, it is."
Like, I'm from New York. I haven't been 400 miles in any other direction.
My father's like such a Brooklyn person. He's like, he's been in Brooklyn and like the Catskills, and like that's it. Nothing else exists.
Okay, so this is like a slow generational thing.
I think, yeah, I've expanded. I've been to Washington. Yeah. I've been to Indiana. I've been to Indiana.
You've been to Indiana?
Yeah, my stepbrother's from there, so I've been to Indiana a few times.
Random. Okay.
Yeah, I was actually impressed by Indiana because you can go downtown. The first time it's ever happened to me. You go downtown and there's nothing there. Like, there's nobody there. I'm like, where are we? This is Market Square. I'm like, really? Where are the people? I don't understand. This is why New York is the center of the world. Anyway.
There's a really great bar in Indianapolis called the Slippery Noodle. I highly recommend it.
That's totally random. How do you know that?
I've only been there once, twice. I've driven through a bunch. I lived in Chicago for a long time.
Oh, okay.
It's not that far away.
Right.
But,
I've stopped over in Chicago on the way to Indiana.
Chicago is a city you would probably you would enjoy. In normal times, there's like
Right.
people walking around, lots of them.
I also like the whole like accent, the Chicago thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good accent.
Yep.
People
Good
are kinda
accent.
rude.
Good people. People.
You'll
Right.
feel at home.
Right in.
Mhm.
Right. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for coming on. We can continue about a rant about Middle America forever, but I don't want to piss off my audience in Middle America. All three people. See, I can't help myself.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about some of this. We're a little edgy today.
Thank God we're not live. We'll have to edit some of this out at some point. That said, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. Again, we're in the middle of COVID while we're recording this, so stay healthy, stay inside, and I hope your liquor lasts.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Same to you. I hope you get your liquor.
Thank you.
Very
I appreciate
much.
that. Take care.
Yeah. You too.
And we are back to your regularly scheduled In Search SEO podcast. It is so fat because there's so much underbelly to this whole news content syndication thing that no one knows about. Like, I had no idea until I asked Alli like how long it takes for syndication to be picked up. No one knows that. So it's really cool to hear that. By the way, since then I have a new stock of alcohol, so I'm feeling much better. Yeah. Just in case you wanted to know that.
Yeah,
But I told you anyway.
didn't, but okay.
Yeah, and
You did.
but look, I think you should care because you like margaritas, disco dancing, and other. What are the other things I'll tell you? Oh, and link building. I'm not going to stop till you get
Right,
married.
thank you, Mordy.
You have to get married. How could it's a Shonda? How could you not get
Oh,
married?
wow.
It's
Oh,
terrible.
God. Okay,
Ridiculous. There's some guilt for you from my grandmother. Anyway, let's get to the news.
Anyway.
Yeah? Yeah, okay. So, Sapir, could you
Yeah.
please hit it with the news?
Yet another bug prevented fresh content from being indexed by Google. The good news is that the bug was fixed.
It's like weird. Maybe the last year and a half, there's been so many Google bugs, and
Yeah.
it's just funny that like no one's like pinned them. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, wait, guys, like what the hell's going on here? Come on,
Right.
someone do that.
Oh, well.
I would like to hear the answer to that.
Okay, Morty, let's move on. Big Webmasters tool is now giving you amazing link data. With it, you can have a look at any site's backlink profile.
Yeah, so Bing's running all these like free tools for SEOs now. There's another one they released. It's an interesting little strategy going on here.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Bing's like getting let's get us enticed with some free SEO tools. I think it's interesting. And I think I'll talk about more of this in a deep thought on Twitter, so look for it on Wednesday or Thursday of this week.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on. Google has shaking up its staff. Some big names, some familiar names at Google, now have new roles. For example, Ben Gomez is no longer the head of search, but is taking up projects related to Google Scholar, etc. We'll link to the article on this so you can see who's where and who's not where anymore.
I'm sorry. I was yawning because I don't care.
Oh, I noticed. Thank you.
It wasn't.
Wow, okay.
In case you were wondering, it wasn't a real yawn. That was a fake on to show that I was bored.
Oh, was there?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
I'm
more.
sorry. You were talking.
Lastly, Brody Clark
Friend of the show.
seems to have
Friend of the show, Brody
oh, yeah,
Clark.
right. Shout out.
Shout out.
Seems to have found cases of rich results based on schema showing up on the SERP for a site's homepage.
Right. So this is interesting. Is it a bug? Is it not a bug? I don't think it's a bug. I think it makes sort of sense. Like you can have an FAQ on your homepage, and it could show up. Why not? I mean, traditionally speaking, those kind of pages were a little bit spammy, and Google kind of knows that. But in theory, it is possible. So maybe it's a new trend. Who knows?
Mhm.
We'll see. Or are you done?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. You're done. Okay.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know that?
I said lastly.
I
on the
totally
last
forgot
item.
you said that. You did say that. I totally forgot. Wait.
Such an
I
idiot,
know I'm
Morty.
such an idiot. It's so good. And with that, thank you for the news.
With that.
Thank you for the news.
Yeah,
I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that. I appreciate you.
Oh wow.
And that's why
Thanks.
someone should find you on LinkedIn under Sapir Carabello,
Oh, shut up.
sell you some links, take you disco dancing, buy you a margarita.
That would be the sweetest gesture.
It would be.
Trying to sell me something. Yeah.
Disco dancing and margaritas. With that, we are now
Wow.
brought to the pinnacle of the program, the fun
Yep.
SEO send-off question. This is a great question this week, Sapir. I really like this question.
Yeah.
It's controversial.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's controversial. It's appropriate. It's practical. Love this question.
Right, okay. So, this week we're asking, what's Google's favorite pizza topping? And also, is Google pro pineapple on pizza?
Oh, it's
That's
amazing.
a life-changing question.
Do you like pineapple on your pizza, Sapir?
No, I think it's disgusting.
Oh my god, you ruined it. I thought you were going to say yes. I was going to be so excited.
Of course
You
not.
have good taste. Of course not.
Disgusting. I don't know how people eat it. I'm so sorry to the people who like
Oh
pineapple
my
on
gosh.
pizza.
First off, so
Or
Sapir
Hawaiian
likes
pizza, I'm
disco
like-
dancing, and she likes pineapple pizza. When you approach her on
No,
LinkedIn
ew.
to take her out on a date, ask her, hey, you want to get some pineapple pizza?
It would be an immediate block if someone would ask me.
Pineapple pizza
Go
is
eat
the first off.
pineapple pizza.
Google's favorite topping is pineapple
No.
because
ew.
it is
Oh
the
my God.
best topping on a pizza.
What?
Oh, by the way,
Morty, I'm so
pineapple
disappointed
pizza
with
with
your
Tabasco
answer.
sauce is so good. Do you put Tabasco sauce on your pizza?
I do, yeah. I like.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Also, eggplant pizza.
But not
Have you ever had eggplant
pineapple,
pizza?
though. Eggplant?
Yeah,
no.
like fried eggplant on pizza. Also, I love it's like a carbohydrate nightmare. Like it will literally give you diabetes. Is mac and cheese on pizza.
Oh, I always wanted to try that one.
Oh,
I
it's
never
so
did.
good. It's disgusting. You feel like you feel like diabetes afterwards. If like diabetes had a feeling, that's what it would feel like. Cause it's like immense amounts of carbohydrates. It's disgusting, but it's so good. Also, I'll keep going because I just love pizza. Hash browns on pizza,
Yeah, I noticed. What?
so good. Hash browns on pizza.
Okay.
You need to try this, people.
That's the first for me.
Yes, corn on
never.
pizza is also
Never
good.
heard of it.
Corn and Tabasco sauce is another good combination.
Oh, I like corn
Yeah,
on
corn
pizza.
on pizza is good.
Corn on pizza is good.
So
Yeah.
the moral of the story is we don't really give a crap what Google wants on their pizza. This is all about what we like on our pizza.
Exactly.
Right. So screw you, Google. We don't care.
I'm a pepperoni on pizza kind of girl.
Are you a pepperoni person?
Simple.
So I'm a kosher person.
Yeah,
I never
good.
had real pepperoni on
You're
pizza.
a kosher person?
Right.
Yeah,
So
okay.
in case you don't know.
Okay,
Right.
that's
That's it? Okay, you're done? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
listening, folks. This has been another episode of the InSearch SEO Podcast. Do not forget, you can find a new episode of the InSearch SEO Podcast next Tuesday on Stitcher, on Spotify. You know the whole drill already. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in again next Tuesday. It's been In Search because we're all in search of something. Toodaloo!